afternoon, Detective. My name's Jay Apt. I represent Mr. Kendrick.
How you doing?
I'm well. How are you?
Good.
So, I listened carefully to your testimony. When you were giving an answer about, or answers about, a photograph depicting Mr. Kendrick standing on the hood of a vehicle, you said you wanted to focus on, quote, the crime at hand and who committed it, correct?
I didn't say it was a crime. I said it was disrespect.
Okay. So you don't believe that my client was committing a crime?
If he didn't damage the vehicle, no.
Uh-huh. All right, great. And you didn't, you perceived that that was an act of disrespect, correct?
Did.
Okay. Did you question Mr. Kendrick or any of Mr. Kendrick's associates about him doing that?
I did not.
Did you question Mr. Rayshawn Bennett about that incident?
No, I didn't.
And to be clear for the jury, Rayshawn Bennett is the person who you believe owned that car, correct?
Correct.
He's also known as YFN Lucci, right?
Yes.
So you didn't question him about how he perceived it?
No.
And you didn't question any of Mr. Bennett's associates or friends about that incident?
I didn't, but Mr. Lucci spoke out on a pod with how he felt about that.
Okay. But you don't know for you're assuming that it was gang related, correct?
I'm not assuming. I know what was going on when that happened.
You didn't question anyone involved, but you knew.
I didn't have to question. I knew that it was a gang beef going between YFN Lucci and his crew, and also YSL and their crew.
When is the last time before that photograph that Mr. Bennett and Mr. Kendrick spoke in person? Do you know? I
think they ran into each other at Lennox, but that was just according to social media. Where they actually talked about them running into each other or talking.
Do you know whether or not they ran into each other that day at the mall?
I think I saw something on social media saying that they did.
Is it possible that they made a bet that day and this was just someone winning a bet?
I don't know what was said.
You don't know, right? Because you didn't ask anyone, correct?
No, but the guy stood on the guy.
Let her finish her answer, and y'all are kind of talking over each other, so try not to do that. Thank you.
Sorry, Your Honor.
It's all right.
I don't know it, but I don't think they even made a bet because, like I said, it was a lot of animosity and tension between the two groups.
And you wouldn't know because you didn't bother to question any of them, right?
I didn't question them, no.
Yeah. So you don't know for certain whether it was gang-related or a bet or what the reason was or the intent was behind Mr. Kendrick standing on that vehicle. That's fair to say you don't know because you didn't question any of them.
I saw the reaction of Mr. Lucci when he was questioned about it.
Why not ask him? Why not go and ask him then?
I didn't have to ask him. I saw his reaction. He wasn't happy.
He didn't have to follow the evidence?
He wasn't happy.
Is it possible he wasn't happy because he lost a bet and it had nothing to do with gang activity?
Assuming facts, not evidence about
yeah, it is assuming facts. You don't know one way or another what the reason or intent was in my client's mind. Isn't that fair to say?
I don't know what his intent was, but he got a reaction out of Lucci.
You believe in the First Amendment, right?
I do.
You believe in our people's right to free speech?
I do.
You believe in musicians' ability to create lyrics for art, right?
I do.
But you stated in your testimony that you think rap music that depicts violence is popular, but it shouldn't be.
I agree. It shouldn't be glorified.
And
I stand by that.
You also said that there are songs which have killed children in Atlanta. Which songs?
I don't know specific songs, but I know that it's music. The reason for the beef as far as the Atlantic Station situation. Okay. They were going back and forth on social media with songs and disrespecting each other. Next thing you know is gunplay and children are dead.
You're the expert, detective. Which songs? Which songs regarding rap violence caused the death of children?
I don't know the name of the songs, but I know that those particular kids were involved in music, talking about each other in the music. Then it's violence spawned because of the music.
Do you think you should be an expert on rap lyrics?
Sustained.
I never said I was an expert on rap music. You said that.
You understand that lyrics and even lyrics about violence can be used as art to depict, to be marketed and for commercial purposes without being factual, right? You agree with that?
I have heard of that and seen that, but
And that can be done in movies.
it's not a good thing. That's all I said.
Not a good thing?
Right.
You ever seen the movie The Untouchables with Robert De Niro?
Probably not.
No?
No.
Goodfellas?
Seen Goodfellas.
Okay. So do you think Robert De Niro should be charged with crimes because he depicts murder and violence?
No.
What about Al
didn't do it.
Pacino?
If he was charged when he stepped off the movie set and he went and did the actual things that he did in the movie, then yes, he should be charged.
But you said in earlier testimony that if it's depicting previous actual acts of violence, then that should be a crime.
Like I said, if Robert De Niro left the movie set and went out and shot somebody like he did in the movie, then yes, he should be charged.
That's not what you said earlier. You said,
I would say argumentative, Your Honor.
okay. Did you say earlier that someone who is rapping about a previous act of violence should be held responsible for that?
That's not what I said.
Okay.
I said that they put in the music or in the wording of the songs things that have happened, meaning whether it was a shooting, whether it was a drive-by, whether it was a smash and grab, whatever. I say that sometimes this can be a confession. Sometimes it can be taunting just to the other gang members or the ops or whatever.
So if it's taunting, then it should be criminalized. Is that your...
I didn't say that either.
Okay. So Bob Marley singing "I Shot the Sheriff" is okay too, right?
He shoot the sheriff in real life like that man did up in Kentucky, then yes.
Yep. Yeah.
Or if it's like the sheriff shot the judge.
You don't know much about Bob Marley's life, do you?
What do I got to do with anything?
Listen, you understand that you've already testified that you have no concrete evidence that the lyrics that were played in this courtroom earlier are directly related to any actual criminal activity, right?
I didn't say it was connected to criminal activity. I never said that.
Well, okay. So they're just art. They're just free speech then. We can agree on that?
It's free speech, but like I said, when you talk about a crime that actually happened and your group is the suspect,
It's what? It's what?
It's obvious that you were involved maybe in that crime.
It's obvious that you were involved if you're singing about it?
Could have been.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to object to the characterization of it's obvious that you were involved maybe. And I'm going to object to Mr.
Overruled. What else? Hang on. To Mr. App's misstatement. Is that what you said? Ask your question again.
Thank you, Your Honor. So what you're saying is if someone sings about an act of violence that previously occurred, then it's obvious that they were involved.
That is a misstatement. That wasn't
Is
her
that what
testimony.
you're saying?
Not exactly. I'm saying that if crimes have been committed and then you go brag about it in a song, it's hard to defend that you didn't have anything to do with what you're pretty much confessing in a song.
Okay, and I guess that's my point. If Robert De Niro plays Al Capone and he's playing Al Capone in a movie, is it then obvious that he's the one who's in the mafia? I don't understand. Why is it that singing about a previous crime that occurred somehow ties you to that crime? What evidence do you, and let me rephrase, what evidence do you have that either Mr. Kendrick or Mr. Williams actually committed the murder of Donovan Thomas?
I didn't tell you that I had evidence of that. Did I tell you that?
You testified.
I testified that they killed Donovan Thomas?
You testified that it was obvious.
Got me mixed up. I didn't tell you that.
So it's not obvious that they're involved?
Objection, Your Honor, because I'm not sure where we're going to go, and so I want to.
Well, a minute ago.
Hang on and let me listen to her objection.
Can we approach her?
Yes. All right, Detective, we just want to make sure that with regard to Mr. App's questioning, he's going to confine his questions to things that have to do with his client, Mr. Kendrick. And you should likewise confine your answers to things that have to do with his client right now while he's the one questioning, okay? And not talk about any of the other co-defendants on trial here. And things like a search warrant that you know got the results of which were suppressed, don't even veer into territory like that. And I'm not going to go through all of the different possibilities, but just be mindful when you testify to be careful not to testify to anything that you know as an experienced detective shouldn't be being talked about, okay?
Okay.
All right, any other kind of parameter anybody wants to mention?
Well, Your Honor, and I guess I'm speaking to the detective as well. Detective. I represent Shannon Stillwell. I am not asking this question, and he is specifically asking about Mr. Kendrick. I would not anticipate that the answer would include pronouns such as they or things of that nature. And I would ask that anything be strictly limited to Mr. Kendrick.
I understand.
All right, anybody else?
I'll absolutely limit my questions relating only to Mr. Kendrick.
All right. Okay, I think we're ready to get the jury back. They may not be ready to come back, but.
Thank you, Your Honor. So, Detective, you were saying that it, and I don't want to misquote you, but that if someone raps or sings about an act of violence that actually occurred, then it becomes obvious of what?
To me, it's bragging. Could be taunting or bragging.
And well, let me ask you this: are you aware of whether Mr. Kendrick wrote any of those lyrics that were played in the courtroom earlier?
No, I'm not aware.
So you don't know if my client was even involved in writing those lyrics.
I never said he did.
And you're not aware of Mr. Kendrick in any way, shape, or form being tied to or involved in the murder of Donovan Thomas. Isn't that true?
I know he was arrested and charged or a suspect for it.
Were his fingerprints found anywhere?
I didn't work the homicide portion of that. You would have to refer to.
You don't know. You don't know if his
I
fingerprints.
didn't get into the homicide investigation.
You don't know if his fingerprints were found on the Tahoe or any evidence in the case?
No.
You don't know if his DNA was found?
No.
You don't know if any ballistics were found that were tied to Mr. Kendrick, correct?
No.
In fact, you're not aware of any eyewitnesses who saw Mr. Kendrick commit that crime, correct?
I don't know of any.
And you went to great lengths to give an expert opinion about what the state refers to as Exhibit, I believe, Exhibit 535YB, which is the song called Slime, and I apologize, I may be less genteel than Mr. Steele is, but it's a piece of evidence. The song's actual name is Slime Shit. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. And you stated earlier you don't know the date that song was released, right?
No, I only see the date that it was uploaded to YouTube, like I told Mr. Steele.
You don't know the date it was written?
I don't.
You don't know who wrote the lyrics?
I don't.
And so if that song, if I told you that track was released officially on September 16th of 2015, and that...
Sustained.
I'll withdraw the question. If, hypothetically, if those lyrics were released in 2014, before the murder of Donovan Thomas, then wouldn't it be fair to say that the Tahoe mentioned in the song had nothing to do with Mr. Thomas's murder, right?
That would be fair.
You're not suggesting that whoever wrote the lyrics was psychic and predicted the murder of Donovan Thomas, right?
I did not say that.
Okay. Thank you. I have no other questions.